Say
All right. Yeah, unless you.
nope, you're good. How about? Hold on. Sorry, guys. I gotta get in your way again. They keep changing this on me during training. All right, everybody. We're gonna get ready to start. So for those who don't know me, I am the crazy one who organizes all of these. So every single Tuesday. I'm also in the community and events and volunteer stuff with Orlando as well. So I am heavily connected, I guess I can say. A couple of things that are happening. We're not hiring yet, but if you want to come to me, especially talk to me, hang out, get to know you. I will now be the main point of contact for any type of initial hiring, interviewees, conversations, things like that. So that is me, which works out well. I mean, I do these events, I talk to you guys all the time, so it's a very seamless transition to add on for me. A few people in here from the Iron Yard, that makes me happy. I was over there giving my impromptu thrown together talk that was totally not prepared at all, so thanks for bearing with me on that, guys. And only 1 cup of coffee, so thank you for bearing with me. And then we also have some Code School in the house. So for the giveaways today, we have Code School swag and Still My Cloud Space swag. So that's why I wanted to make sure you guys all got your tickets, because yeah, pretty excited about that. Other than that, if there's any local events that anybody wants to speak up about, let me know. Otherwise,
Orlando PHP is Thursday.
I love you, Jeremy. If you're interested in PHP, he has a meetup on Thursday.
Oh, Rob is organizing.
We got Python one now? Goodness.
He's not. He's bad at it.
I was about to say, you two are. Whew. Okay. So, without further ado, this is the first time ever speaking at one of my meetups, so it's pretty exciting.
Actually, first time speaking ever.
Yeah.
Before.
So, by the way, I am totally open for beginner, absolutely horrible at presenting talks. This is a very casual, very low-key environment. This is the best place for you to be able to get up and give talks. 100% honest with you. If anybody gives you a hard time in here, unless they actually know you, they have to deal with me. And I will tell you right now, most of the community does not want to deal with me. So, so this is a very easy spot for you to come in and speak. And I definitely want all of you guys to come in and speak. So, Lewis, my dear, put that on your shirt so the YouTube can hear you.
Okay.
I will be posting the YouTube link on Meetup, so that way you guys can go back and rewatch this on YouTube. And then it'll also allow you to, which you're able to see all, put that in your pocket under this.
Oh, pocket.
Which you're able to actually see all the previous ones that we live stream, because it does archive them. So that's University Tech Meetup on the YouTube. You just search that and you'll find it. But otherwise, Meetup page. So, but Lewis, go on ahead.
Wait, one other thing.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
I was going to take some pictures. The shutter is a little...
Don't mind the shutter. Okay, now we're good. Now you're good.
All right. Nobody panic if you hear a shudder. Hi, everyone. My name is... Thanks for coming out to the meetup. I'm going to be trying to talk about CSS. It's a very tricky subject, so see if we can get through this. But my talk today, I'm talking about CSS, and what that means is writing modular CSS that's both maintainable and scales well. It's a very difficult thing to do, I think, so we'll be going into that. So the goals today is hopefully by the end you'll know what modular CSS is, so like what am I even talking about, why you would even care, right? I mean, CSS is a very easy language to write, right? I mean, if you want to move something over or add some padding or a font, it's easy to learn. I think it's hard to write well, and that's, you know, at the end you should know to rethink our CSS and write it better. So that's the goal. So what year is it? It's 2000 for CSS. I mean, we have all of these preprocessors available to us. You know, whatever you decide to use, whatever floats your boat, I think whatever makes you most productive is good. Frameworks, I mean, you got Bootstrap, Foundation, you know, you have SCSS libraries like Bourbon and Neat, very like minimalistic, you know, like here's a grid. You know, how do you choose? It's very difficult to choose one. And with each library comes a lot of complexity. I mean, like if you pick up Bootstrap or Foundation, I mean, just imagine picking that up for the first time. I mean, there's a lot of classes to remember. There's a lot to remember in that, and it's complex. So it's by no means an easy thing to master. So HTML and CSS are so easy, any of us can write it, said anonymous developer at sweeping generalist. I mean, it is. I mean, writing HTML and CSS are everyone's game, right? Anyone can just jump into it. But like I said, writing it well is the tricky part. You know, sometimes if you're writing in CSS over time, it can really feel like everything's falling apart. Nothing is cooperating with you. You know, you'll sing because nothing is working. You know, it's hard. Here's a quote from an article on CSS tricks by Chris Coyer. It says, you know, basically saying that even if your company or you as an individual try really hard to, you know, write maintainable CSS and write performant-oriented CSS, over time, if you don't have a plan or if you don't have some way of thinking about it, it starts to fall apart very quickly and it can affect performance. Spend a lot of time just trying. I mean, I know a lot of us in here probably have used frameworks before. So if you use like Foundation, for example, you can use the CSS. It'll be like a giant pile of it'll be like, you know, 2,000 lines of CSS that half you don't even use. But, you know, if you use like the SAS version of it, you can start to like comment out some of the add imports and just be like, I don't want to use that. And it starts to get smaller, but at the end of the day, you're still kind of through all the CSS. It's kind of difficult. Another thing about CSS is that the file size. So, I mean, you might start really small, you might start with the best intentions, but over time, if you don't have a plan, if you're not writing future-proof CSS, modular CSS that you can easily swap in and out, I mean, yeah, you'll need to add like some padding here, you'll need to add you know, a new display here, and over time, I mean, it just gets bigger and bigger, and I think it grows exponentially based on the size of the project and the team that you're working with. So I heard about that I thought was funny is not invented here syndrome. So, you know, if you start working on a project with a team and somebody else writes CSS, you know, you might just rewrite it, or you might add your own stuff because you don't know what it does, or you're not really sure what it does. So that's something that can happen too, and you get a lot of, you know, code, I would say. So what do we do about it? So instead of writing pages, I think we need to start thinking about writing components. I'm going to be using the words component, objects, modules interchangeably, so forgive me for that. But I think we need to start writing components, and what I mean by components are reusable pieces. So here's a quote from Dave Rupert saying that, you know, in programming with large complex things is to break them down into small modules, and it's a good rule of thumb, because once you start building this component library of like, all right, this is a box, you know, and it has stuff in it, then if you need another box, you just use that same box, you know, and it's very predictable, and you don't have to worry about it breaking, and if you need to change that box in any way, you just add stuff to the box, but you're not writing the same code over and over again. So here's like Microsoft's website. And you know, it's not a page. Don't think of it as a page. I think that for me, that was the biggest change in thinking, because you know, I think I'm fairly new as a front-end developer. And when I used to program or code sites, you know, I would think of like, all right, I need to like match this photo document with this page, and I need to write the CSS that matches the page. And I need these buttons and these colors, and I don't care how I write them. I'm just going to write them blah, 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 and start typing, and just make this page. But if you think about it, it's really just a collection of front-end modules, which again are reusable objects. So Microsoft probably has a style guide. They probably look at it and they say, all right, here is a button, and here's what our hero looks like, and here's what Microsoft's menu is going to look like. They use that over and over again across all of their products. They never have to rewrite a menu again. And I think we have to think about it. Let's see if this link opens. This is something I found. So this is like GitHub's, I guess this is like an open source style guide that they use. So I just wanted to kind of pull it up because it makes some. So very, very simple example, but here are their buttons. So if you notice all class button, so it's a very predictable component. This is what a button is to us. But then you'll see they add these extensions, so they'll have a primary button, and they add these classes to it, and you know exactly what it does every time. But at the end of the day, if you just want a button, you just put the class and it's a button. So that's kind of something cool. I think Heroku has a style guide too. I'm sure every company in some shape or form has a style guide where they reuse, whether they know it or not. I think it's just something that happens when you start to brand yourself. This is something I thought was interesting, kind of following the same thought pattern. Where, if you start to think CSS is not just styling pages, more of like make some atoms, and then I'm going to put those atoms into molecules, and then we're going to make organisms, and then you'll have templates. So if you have like a template that's user profile, and it's made up of all these different organisms, which are made up of smaller molecules, and then page, that's the page. So you have to think of it in broken up parts. If not, it's way too complex. So I think reusing your elements does that. You can read that. Here's a quick example just regarding modular CSS. It's kind of hard to talk about because everyone writes CSS differently, and it's a very loose language. So I think it's really difficult to write. And here's just an example. So, this is like the little profile area on GitHub. How you might mark it up. So you might have some markup like that, where it's all under the class avatar. You'll have like your image and everything, your stats, and you'll probably break it up into divs like we usually do. Some good old divitis. And then you'd probably, you would scope each element with the avatar class. So, you would have all of the tags under there with those classes. But what happens if you want to change one of the tags? If you want to change that H3 into an H5 tag, now you have a problem. Now you have to change both the HTML and the CSS. So let's fix that. So now you add, maybe instead of styling the tags, you just want to style class names. So you assign these class names to everything. But what if we want to reuse this throughout our site? That's going to be really confusing. Mapping avatar onto everything is an avatar. So you need to make it more abstract. So I'm using this from one of the frameworks looking at recently called MVCSS, which I would definitely recommend checking out. It has a lot of these principles in mind. But something more generic like a card. So now you have a card, and it's a more modularized component that you can use, and you have these extensions on it, kind of styling everything under that. But what happens if you start noticing that maybe card list is being used here and there, and you start having all these card list classes, or the styles under card list, you kind of see them repeating all over the place. And why not make a list component, and break it up into a specific module component object, and then style everything under. And now what you begin to do is you start to build these separate modules that you can reuse throughout your project. And then when you do that, you start finding all these patterns, and you can really reduce the amount of CSS you write, because now you're writing dry CSS. You don't have to repeat yourself, and everything is independent from one another and has a purpose. So if you write, a list anywhere on your site, across all your products, it's the same list every single time. You never have to write another list again. It's a list. But it doesn't always work because lists are different. Maybe a list on one page is different from another. But then you can maybe add some tools. Why not add some little pieces, little components, going back to like the atoms, and then you start getting where you'll have like a small padding bottom, like .pbf or padding bottom, and then you'll have padding bottom small. Slap these tools onto anything you want, and you don't have to add padding bottom 1 to a component anymore, because now it's a little tool that you so yeah, really all this is about is changing the way you think about it. I mean, I'm not going to be a master of CSS, not even probably like a year or two from now. I mean, when you sign up for this, you sign up for a lifetime of learning, and I think that CSS is one of those languages that you just never really master. It's just really difficult to write clean and maintainable CSS. One thing I would say is most important is that you constantly refactor. I mean, like if you look at my site right now, oh my gosh, like I mean, after I started thinking about this, it's like I need to refactor my CSS. Like for example, an about section. My classes for the about section are under a class called about section, so I can't reuse them anywhere. It's just for that about section. I mean, granted, it's a small site, but it's still, you can refactor it. You can reuse it somewhere. That's the important part. So if you like what I talked about, definitely check this out. I can post the link somewhere. Yeah, so I can post the link on the meetup page. There's a lot of good stuff here. A lot of the ideas I've been getting from are from MVCSS, which is based on a ton of other object-oriented CSS mindset. So if you're interested in that, definitely take a look at these links.
All right, give me your mic.
All right.
And you are good to go. Thank you, my dear.
Yeah,
Does anybody have any questions or anything?
Yeah, does anyone have any questions?
I've got, maybe it's an odd question, because I know when I've written CSS, I invent reading everything over and over again. And you mentioned kind of keeping things, when you were mentioning components and objects and that sort of thing, it occurred to me, there's something I don't know. Can you override components in CSS? Sort of like if you go ahead and call we'll say you've got your list component and it sets the background and the text size. Mm-hmm. And then you've got call your card component, but just text size. If you do that within the list component, will it basically still default to the background that you've already set on the original one and override the text? Or will it cancel out the entire thing? That I haven't.
Okay, so if you have a component with a certain font size, and you add a class to it, a small tool that changes the font size, I think it'll override it most of the time. But then you can start to ask yourself, like, why is the font size on this card different? Is it because it has a list in it? Is it because it has a button? And then you can add a class like maybe has list, and then you can make that font size apply to things or have a specific button, so you don't have to keep rewriting, that over and over again.
And I think even some of that stuff was clarified.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
No, we're all quiet. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, nice presentation, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, one of the things that it brought to mind is I find CSS incredibly confusing. It's stupid when somebody says CSS is easy.
Yeah, it's not easy.
No, and it may be because, and the response is maybe because I'm a perfectionist and I'm looking for a clean way to do it, and it's not really well explained. A lot of these tutorial sites will go into
For my randomizer.
how to use classes, but not really how they're derived.
Right.
So some of these resources are really nice.
Yeah, if you're interested in like the way our writing, the object-oriented CSS, that definitely go down the rabbit hole. I mean, like where I started was honestly talking to John back there. He works at Code School, and he maintains a project with someone else that works there called MVCSS, and like writing reusable components and not repeating yourself and all that. And that's kind of how I started looking into it. So I've still got a lot to learn too, but that was kind of my door into it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
So you've talked a lot about NV CSS. You seem to like it a lot. What would you say is the strongest point?
Well, I have not used it. So I would say I don't want to answer that because I'm afraid I'll give you the wrong information. Have you gone back there?
He's hiding.
Yeah, he's like.
He's like.
Or look at the, they have a GitHub repo. They have just as a library that has kind of components that they. And if you want to contribute it to it, you can add your own components. But it's kind of like the whole idea is not repeating yourself and kind of writing modular CSS. So if you like that, I definitely talk to them. But I'm not the expert. I'm just learning it too.
All right. So while we get Sergio set up, there's plenty of pizza left over. Go for seconds. I'm not gonna lie. Go for it. See, there we go. And also, too, so for those who have never been here before, we do take everybody for a round of beer, World of Beer, right after. So when the talk is over and we're done with all this, we walk right over to World of Beer and we buy the first round of beer. If you're not 21, get a soda, get a water, still hang out. The networking is completely beneficial. But World of Beer will allow you to take pizza over, and you guys can take that over. Somehow my iOS or my Ruby ate a ton of pizza, and then tonight it's like nobody's eating it. So we'll give everybody. See? Told you. Nobody judges. Get more pizza. No, we don't. We don't love you.
We're not supposed to see that.
So they don't. Since this is such a rare meetup, they don't. So you gotta tell them. Alright. Alrighty. So if everybody's getting. You guys want another second, or should we go ahead and start rolling?
Hold it.
Are we rolling? Are we rolling with it? Alright. So everyone who have never been to one of my, actually have had, was your JavaScript talk, which was a couple months ago. So if you guys have never actually witnessed Sergio ever give a talk, he's brilliant. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Great speaker and code. So I'm going to let you take it away, my dear.
Yep.
All right.
I just spilled tomato sauce on my pants. I'm so embarrassed right now. It's awful. So don't look there, please. But I'm Sergio. I'm going to be talking about CSS tooling. Boring stuff. I apologize in advance, but it is what it is. Did everybody get Code School swag already? No? Plenty of that. I do have t-shirts. I'm going to be giving them out. I think there's enough free month cards for. I think we brought around 50 of them. I think there's less of us here, so we should be good. Yeah. So be sure to grab one of these. I got a bunch of stickers as well. You know what, guys? Feel free to interrupt me as I'm speaking. Ask questions, and I'm going to be rewarding you guys for those questions. So, like, it's not a whole lot of us here, so let's try to make it interactive, conversational. I don't want you to look at me as the expert by all means. Let's just learn this together. So CSS tooling. So I just want to have an idea of who we're dealing with here. Who here does CSS today? Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's pretty much everyone. That's really good. Okay, so I'm guessing if you do CSS every day. Oh, my computer. There it is. Cool. I'm guessing if you do CSS every day, you do have apps in production, right? Running CSS, a little website, something. No? Okay. That's cool with you. But if you're planning on doing it yet, hopefully this talk will be a little bit helpful. I'm going to be talking about building. Now, I asked, most of us do CSS every day. Many of us use CSS preprocessors. Okay, of us. So SAS, who uses SAS? Okay, pretty much less. Anybody? Yeah. 1, 2. Okay. Stylus? No. I won't mention it again. Anything else I'm missing here? No. Okay. So it looks like most of us are already using SAS. If you are using SAS, then you already have a build for your application, right? So before you display SAS on the page, you have to file that SAS file over to CSS, and you do that using a build tool. So you could use SAS directly, or you could integrate like a task runner, so grunt, gulp, right? So I'm going to be focusing on gulp today. We're going to be talking about that. I was going to explain what a build is, but if most of us are already using preprocessors, you kind of already have an idea. You're basically prepping displayed on the prepping that code to be used. Usually, what that means is that on development time, you're compiling that as you're making changes. So if you're using gulp or grunt, then you probably have a little watch task going, and every time you your CSS, your page, if you're using like browser sync or live reload, you're reloading automatically. If you don't know what any is, please raise your hand, ask questions. Really, don't be shy. But so I was gonna mention, so we got grunt, we got gulp, there's broccoli, there's more. Yeah, gulp seems to be like the more one now, and right? So grunt is so boring, like all those objects, and we don't. But anyway, so a build for development, and it's also great for production. But don't get those two confused. It's really two different things. When you're doing production, to be fast, right? So you want things to, and you want to see them right away on the browser. Now, when you're building for production, now you might want to look into minifying your CSS. You might want to look into, other things that are production specific, and those may be a little slower to run. You're only running those when you're actually doing your release, when you're actually pushing to production. So as I'm doing my talk here, you're going to see me running two commands on the command line. You're going to see gulp serve and gulp. So gulp serve will basically be development step to be super fast. We want to make a change and see them on the screen right away. Like I said there, it should make the developer's life easier. Now, the gulp build, we're really prepping that for production. So it's okay if things are slow or a little slower. So, like I said, most of our talk on gulp build, it will be more on production. Though at the end of the talk, if we have extra time, I could kind of show you how gulp works a little bit. And if you want to see things live reload automatically as I'm making changes to the CSS, that's totally cool. As long as we have the time, don't at all. So let's do the first demo number 0. The only reason why it's demo number 0, so don't think I'm being fancy or anything like that. It was really a mistake. We're going to be talking about prefixer. So what is a prefixer? So you see CSS on a day-to-day basis. How many of us love just those browser vendor prefixes? Oh, you love it. You get a shirt for that. Hit me up later. Prefixer comes just for that. So I'm going to show you guys. I'm not even going to try to explain it because it's super weird. So come on, let's do a demo real quick. So, see, is this too small? To be? Yeah, is that better? Yeah, cool. All right, so, okay.
I'm a little strange sometimes. That's why they love me.
We love you, Caitlin. All right, so.
On the JS meetup.
Oh man, my talk was gone. My bad, guys. What happened here? I messed it up. I thought I had a good flow going. All right, you need to stay full screen there. You sneaky. All right, cool. And then here, nope, come back. All right, cool. So our page that we're going to be building, for that, and we got a crazy goat going on there. We're going to be working a lot during this talk. Now, if you don't know anything about the goat, I guess the original goat man. Say hi, David.
Yeah, say hi.
Hi. So on our JS meetups, like I think the first one he did like this big old demo with goats. I think it was like a goat.
Go. I feel like it was between you and Daniel Walker.
Yeah.
We launched the whole goat thing, and it went off. Our Twitter blew up. Everything. Everybody sent us like random goat memes. I mean, hysterical. So JavaScript is all about goats.
This one was the best. Mi nombre es sick. This one was so good. Well, yeah, yes. Enough of getting distracted. Let's set up our little editor here on the side. So, no, that was too big. We don't need all that. All right, cool. So we got our page here. Oh, I didn't actually. All right, can you read the code a little larger? Is that good? Yeah? I'll make it a little larger because it's kind of weird. Wait, I'll just hide these guys. All right, here you go. So where is our crazy goat? All right, so crazy goat right here. So filter, generally when you're using filter to have wide support for other browsers, you might want to prefix things. Notice that I'm not doing that here. And Chrome is a pretty cool browser, so it should pick up the grayscale filter automatically. Let's see what's going on here. Am I actually serving things? Yeah, I am. All right, cool. So crazy. Where's my CSS? Come on. There's an error. I don't know what's going on. Whatever. All right, let's do a build. What we're doing here is we're prepping the. It takes a second. I told you it's okay. We're prepping it for production. It's done. A dist directory was created. The font size is really small. Does anybody know like how to zoom into a Mac like easily? No, it's okay. We got a dist that I guess that's directory here on the side, and I'm going to show you guys what that final compiled CSS looks like. So we were talking about preprocessors, right? So for the browser to read that, I was using Sass here. I don't know if you guys realize that or not, but for it to read the Sass, it needs to be compiled to. Just did that, and let me look for crazy goat in here. Is it in here somewhere? Crazy? No. No crazy goat? Oh, look at that. There's some characters in there. That was my mistake. I'm sorry. All right, cool. So, crazy goat. Here we go. All right, cool. So, on my original file, I just had filter. But what auto prefixer did for us is it the WebKit filter, so we don't have to keep dealing with a browser prefixes. Pretty cool? Am I boring? All right, let me just give away a shirt because this is. Who wants a shirt? All right. That was nice. Actually, that's one of my favorite shirts. She says like, yeah, like HTML and CSS, and yeah, I got like 3 of those at home. Love them. Let me show you what my goat for the prefixer real quick. So this line right here, so line 22, can everybody see my line 22 right here? Yep. This line right here does all that magic for us. So it's doing like some crazy stuff, whatever. You don't need to understand any of it right now. What you need to know is that this line right here, auto prefixer, is adding those browser prefixes for us. That's pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. Still kind of boring though. It's not right, really. It's not that cool. Say that again?
The line says last one version. What if you change it to last two? What is the difference in that?
I have no idea.
Browser versions.
I think those are the configurations for auto prefix, and that'll, yeah, it'll be like how,
Is this based upon the age of the browser then?
yeah, I believe so. And honestly, I wish I could tell you.
Line and everything?
Say that again?
So like it would add support for like IE8 or something?
I believe so. I believe that, you know, if companies that still have to support whatever, it'll add those for you. Now, don't quote me on it, and I should know since I'm presenting on it, but I really don't. Fortunately, I mostly only support Chrome these days, so I don't care as much about this stuff. I don't even know why I'm talking about auto prefixer to begin with. But we can try that real quick. So we had last one, maybe that's the beauty of live pro. Try stuff and it'll break and it's okay. So it's running. Took only 5 seconds. Yeah, I didn't change anything. Yeah, I owe you that answer. I'll look into it and I'll let you know. Good observation though. Let's move on. UnCSS. Has anybody heard of UnCSS before? Yeah, only a couple of us. That's good, because I want you guys to be excited. And I know when I first learned about it, man, I thought it was so cool. All right, so what UnCSS is going to do for us is, does anybody here use Bootstrap? Yeah, a few of us. Foundation? Yeah, cool. Other CSS frameworks that I'm missing that has Urban? Is Burp Bootstrap and Foundation? Yeah, I would say so. I think it's more of a mix. Yeah, it's so cool though. I like Bourbon. I played around with Materialize. I gotta look into that one. Super cool. What all of those libraries have in common is more features than you need, especially when you're getting started out. Does everybody agree with me here? Yes. Right? Bootstrap will give you a modal, and then they'll give you like special fancy drop downs, and especially when you're getting started, you don't need any of it. Let me show you something. If you go, I gotta switch branches. So I don't know what changes we did here, but let's stash them. Everybody here use Git? Yeah, Git's awesome, isn't it?
I haven't seen Git stash before.
So Git stash, well, why is this so hard? There we go. So Git stash will basically stash all of the changes that you've made right now for actually committing. You're just putting them away. Okay. And then you could do stash apply to actually bring them back. So especially now, I don't know what changes I made, whatever, we'll just get rid of them. If they're important, I'll come back and that's it. That's it. You get a sticker for asking that, by the way. That was cool. You like JavaScript? Oh, you have this one. Oh, did you get this one?
I'll take that.
All right, cool. I'm sorry for let me know if So let's serve this page real quick. Hopefully it'll go on the right browser now. There you go. Cool. So has anybody ran a Chrome audit before? Do you know what this is? Yeah? Yeah?
I've done it.
No. You did it?
David, did I do it?
All right, so every single front-end developer I know has a love-and-hate relationship with Chrome audits because they're too good. Like, they just ask for too much stuff. And one of them that I've always struggled with is this right now. It's basically reloading the page and analyzing. It's going to give you suggestions on what you should do to your page to have it be better or whatever. Takes a second. There we go. So the one that always gets me, let me try to make this as large as possible, is this guy right here. Removed unused CSS rules. There's 14 of them, and that's because I'm using Bootstrap, right? I literally only have one page with like random code running on it. I really don't need all of the stuff that Bootstrap provides. Can we get rid of these lines? Yes, we can with uncss. So let me uncomment these lines right here. Now what this will do, this is right under the prefixer guy we looked at before. It'll basically at every single HTML page and analyze, like it'll basically compare against your style sheet you're actually using or not, and it'll purge everything that's not being used. Now this is I talked about development and production. This is not something we want to use during the development phase. For production, we're getting rid of all of the extra bloat that Bootstrap brings. Now Bootstrap's cool, Foundation's cool, but CSS should always be lean. Actually, I want to show you something even before I do this. Actually, so from the previous build, if we look on the, here we go, on the main.css, this is the compiled version of our code. How many lines do you see here? Is it hard to see?
Almost 8,000. Yeah.
We got 8,000 lines. Let's see what uncss will do for us as far as number of lines. So uncomment this guy, go build, just a second. Again, every single task that we add to the build is going to make it a second or so slower. It's okay, don't panic. Let's look at our, can you guys see? What? Isn't that cool? I love this stuff. Man, this is so cool. Caitlin's cracking up. We're having a good time here.
This is why I love you speaking. Always a good time.
Oh, oops, I'm trying to run an audit on the server that's not running. That ain't gonna work. Let's try this again. Sorry, Chrome. So give it a second. All right, cool. Go observe this. So what this little command does is it's actually gonna be serving the compiled version. So right before you push to production, you might want to give it a second look and make sure that everything still looks okay. It looks like it is. It still looks the same. Let's run a quick audit and see what Chrome newly created CSS with 300 lines and 8,000. Why is this taking forever today?
It could be the Wi-Fi since it's open.
Ooh, we got 3 unused CSS rules. That's pretty cool. Look what they are. Remember we spoke about those darn prefixes? Yeah, well, obviously Chrome is not going to use the Mozilla Firefox, and it's not going to use the Microsoft selector. So really, it's complaining about 3 rules, but really there's no way of getting rid of them. But now our file is much leaner. Pretty cool? Yes. Anybody excited? Yeah. Who wants a shirt? Yeah! All right. So who wants the yellow one? I do. No, I'm not allowed to. I'm sorry. I apologize. I made a promise. I got a large shirt. Who's a large here? All right. You got it, man. Yeah.
So I was actually listening. Code,
Yeah.
goes through your JavaScript as well. So is this what this goes?
Absolutely. Get a sticker for a question. JavaScript, okay? Cool, man. Oh, you also get a free month with Code School.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you're cool, man. You could have one too, if only you asked the question. Or if you stay long enough till the end, you could just grab one here. But whatever, I didn't tell you this. You're talking about.
Yeah,
I just started this on GitHub. I'll tell you. Does anybody know how to see my stars?
Yeah.
Here we go, Purify CSS.
Yeah.
So you're talking about Purify CSS. The difference between NCSS and Purify CSS. Purify CSS was made to work with single page applications. Everybody uses Angular here. A lot of people, cool. So CSS is not going to process your JavaScript for you. And what happens with JavaScript is that it's doing things dynamically. So you're going to want to have a tool that actually analyzes your JavaScript. And what it's going to do is it's your page in a fake browser, and you're going to give it like all of the that it needs to do. So it gets a little complicated, but it's really going only to the CSS rules that aren't being by that single page application. So be careful when you're using CSS. For static page websites, it's great. If you're doing a lot of dynamic stuff, you're going to go, what was it called? Purify CSS? Does that make sense? Everybody good?
Purify CSS, just like it does on CSS?
I think I started preparing this stuff. I don't think they had one ready yet, or if they did, it was a little more complicated, so I chose the CSS route because I was a little bit more familiar with it. But if they don't have it yet, I'm sure it'll be only a short while of time before they do. That's a fairly new project. Cool? Screenshots. The heck do I mean by screenshots, you might ask? And I'm here to answer. Responsive design. Everyone loves responsive design, right? It's awesome. Not. Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Gulp take a few screenshots of the page for different screen sizes, and we're gonna look at those screenshots at a glance and see if there's any bugs in our page. You guys cool with that? Quick. I'm sorry if I'm boring you guys. I feel like you guys are too quiet.
That's amazing. I'm used to just writing my pages. They only work at 9 to 5.
Sick. And Gulp need to talk.
We like people who talk.
See, I just stashed again, guys. Just.
Nobody has an excuse. I did Thomas Thompson.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What engine does it use to render the pages?
Good question. It uses Phantom.js, which uses WebKit, if I'm not mistaken, so it looks pretty similar to Chrome. There are a couple of other engines but I think you can run like Firefox or something like that to take those screenshots as well. But again, the purpose of this is not necessarily to regression test in multiple browsers per se. It's more so at a glance, right before you push, does everything still look okay? Did I make any major, any major features or anything like that? Let me show you the Go for a screenshot. This took about 10 lines. It was a little more. What it's doing is it's going through list, which is our distribution file. It's looking at all of the HTML, and then I'm feeding it with 4 screen sizes. Now, you could feed it with anything you want. Now, generally, if I were testing for different screen sizes, I would probably be using this little responsive inspector guy here. So let me do a Gulp serve again, show you what my page looks like right now. Still has a Gulp running on it, nothing new. But if we look at this little responsive inspector, that's a Chrome plugin. It works. What it's doing is it's going through all of your CSS, looking at all of the breaks that the CSS has. I'm just using Bootstrap in this case, so this is basically the equivalent of like their variables. Have you guys ever looked into that? Bootstrap variables. If you look at screen MD or whatever, so these are the that it's targeting. So you got screen extra small, and screen large. So that's what you're seeing here. And your page should look okay in every single one of them, in theory, right? Let's just take a couple of screenshots. It's doing its thing. I have a screen directory here. Oh, it's still doing its thing. Dang, you're taking forever today. There we go. Got them created. So I fed it with 4 different sizes. We got 4 different files back, and I'm sorry that this is so small. But here we can see the version with 1,000 pixels wide. Looks okay, pretty much the same thing as our. This is the one with 1,600. Still looks okay. 480. I'm trying to go in order, but it didn't work. 320. Just found a bug. I just found a bug. Our goat is going over our little, what is that called? Jumbotron, or whatever the heck that is called in Bootstrap. Wait, that is a div. You're absolutely right. I added a couple of CSS rules here, and crazy goat. So making sure it goes over the width of its parent and making the height automatic. I'm sorry if this is ugly. You guys are probably really good CSSers. I'm really not that great. Apologize in advance. But for the purposes of this talk, let's keep things simple. We're running screenshots again. Let's see if we have fixed our bug. Give it a second.
In the screenshots, can you set the height? I see you're setting the width.
I believe so. I need to go through, you have to go through the API of that plugin. I think that's one of the options. Don't quote me on it.
All right.
As a matter of fact, I think there is, and I think the minimum is 10 pixels. So if your page only has like one item on it, like, and it's going to be like smaller than 10 pixels.
Can't imagine any page looks good at 10 pixels.
Me neither. So, but they try to think of everything, right? It'll be at least 10 pixels. And then it'll grow with the content. That's how it works. Cool? So, on 320 on the phone, our goat's not going over the div anymore. We're good. Yay! Woo!
Does it overwrite the old screenshots?
Yes.
All right, good.
Yes, it does. What is the largest screenshot? Well, you're literally passing a little integer value, so it could be whatever the heck you want. And since it's running Phantom and it's not really like a real browser trying to open and resize, I imagine that there's not really a limit to it. I never tried anything crazy like 20,000 and see what happens, but I'm pretty sure there's not a limit to it. Again, don't quote me on it. Like I said, don't look at me as the expert. Let's learn together.
You've got it right there. Just make a quick change. This is what you're trying to tell us, is this will be quick, right?
What do you want?
Just add 0.
Yeah, just add a 0.
16,000? What size of shirt are you? I'm talking medium, okay? Have you heard of JavaScript.com yet? Has anybody heard of JavaScript.com? I got a JavaScript.com t-shirt for you, the official t-shirt of the website. Feel special.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, man. I might have to open this on Finder. Are you guys happy with the 16,000?
That's real responsive, man. Awesome. What if the aliens are trying to open this from their spaceships? Is it going to work?
Well, yeah.
Happy now? We good? That was good. That was good. Changes. The last one that I'm going to be covering today, and I'm sorry, this is a really boring talk, but this is my last demo. So let's fly through this. Image diff. The heck do you mean by that, right? Well, hell. So are we mostly designers or developers here? All right, so developers, raise your hands. Designers, both. It's okay. So obviously, we're mostly developers here. There is a constant struggle between developers and designers, right? Designers try to give you a PSD that couldn't possibly be converted to HTML because it's all crazy looking and stuff. They think they're designing a flyer that hangs on that wall or something like that. It gets crazy. So they're constantly complaining, dude, my page doesn't look right. Fix it. It is right. I could do it. You guys know the struggle. But what if you actually had a way to measure how similar your final product is to a PSD file? Ah, have you thought of that before? I added this little gulp task right here called images, and it's doing a couple of things. Our designer gave us this little guy right here. Would you guys say it looks the same? Sure. Yeah? Well, ship it. Love it. So what I'm going to be doing is, so the way this works is, every time I run the div images task, it's going to run the screenshots task first. So it's going to take those screenshots, and it just so happened that the designer gave us the version that's 1,000 pixels wide, not 10,000, not 16,000, only 1,000. And we're going to be comparing it to the screenshot we just generated with this little task that ran right before this one did right here. Then we're going to have two file image, and I'm going to show you in a second what that means. And the diff analysis JSON. Pretty cool stuff. Scope, div images. You done yet? You done yet?
Sir,
Yeah.
you run build, it runs every task that you have there, right?
Great question. Not really. Not necessarily. Build is just another task that I've created, and you can make it so that the build will run tasks like one after the other for build here. So build is really doing almost nothing at all. It is running lint, it is running HTML, it's running images, so it's running all of these guys, and then it's getting the result of that in builder. But that's all that build's doing. So this is completely customizable. You can add any task. Generally, you will want to add, for example, the screenshots task to your build. You will want to add div images to your build. But it's completely customizable. You're making that task yourself. Make sense? Question?
So for example, would you be able to just tell it if you've already built something or if one of those tasks already is possible? I'll skip over that. I've already done that part. Only handle this aspect.
So the way Gulp,
Not rebuilding the same thing over and over again.
no, the way Gulp's set up is that it's gonna run it every single time. There's no way of knowing I just did this or whatever. Now, generally, in your build test, you're not gonna be doing anything twice. It's pretty, straightforward. Minify JavaScript files, minify CSS files, copy the results to a folder. Generally, that's how it works. Make sense?
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
You have the Gulp task screenshots, and then you have build right next to it. Does that put that in build on its own, or is that something different?
Say that again.
Gulp.task screenshots, you have build right next to it. Does that add that to the build path?
No,
No.
it's the other way around. Screenshots is running build before it can take the screenshots. Okay? Any more questions? Before we look at our diff images. So I got these few files right here. Let me pretty print this JSON file so you guys can actually read it. Pretty format. There we go. So this is a bunch of boring numbers. I'm sorry. It's basically saying, look, there were a total of, I imagine, 711,000 pixels. And out of those few pixels in both images, this amount right here was different. And that amounts to about 20% disparity between the two. But we just looked at the files and they looked the same. What the heck's going on? Well, I told you it's crazy. Now, I'm going to explain in a second. Because our animated GIF is running, the disparity between the two is going to be really high because it can't possibly take the screenshot at the exact same millisecond. Make sense? So there is going to be a difference between the two. And to make this a bit more objective, I could totally get rid of it and run. And as that is being run, I do want to show you something else. Where was it? Right? No, not this one. This one right here. You see the difference in height between the two? Reload. Well, that didn't do anything.
Yeah, because it's white now. For the images.
Oh yeah.
Or gray.
Whatever. I was trying to get rid of the goat. The goat's still sneaking in there.
So it's because the goat's on the other page. You
Yeah,
just
it's
took it
the
out, but it's still
no
missing. It's
image
still
in the
red.
CSS with the PS.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So you're gonna have to
Yes,
hide
and I have a complete.
That's right. Duh. Thank you for being smart. If I hadn't given you a shirt, I would have given you right now. Given you one.
If I didn't have two, you mean?
You got 2 shirts?
Yeah, I got two.
Oh, dude, you gotta give that to somebody else. I didn't realize that. Not the yellow one.
It's the yellow one.
Not to. I made a promise. There you go. I'm sorry. I thought it was the other guy that got it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to distribute this equally here. All right, so forget me being a dummy, but the main thing here was that there was about 10 pixels in difference of the menu bar here up top. And that's what I really wanted you guys to look at.
So how do you know which one's yours and which one's the image file?
That's a great question. You don't. It's true. It's your job to actually go in and fix it. The different algorithm is just telling you there's a difference here, right? So, to whatever, open Photoshop and see. Now there might be a way, there might be something fancy that it can do. I'm really not aware of it. But what I really wanted to point out is the difference between the two. Now what I really did was I took a screenshot of this page, opened it on Photoshop, and moved it down by a few pixels just so you could see what was really going on. But our designer would really be complaining right now. Oh my goodness! Oh yeah, totally. Right, designers? Any designers here? So these are a few Go plugins that are out there, but there's a whole lot more, and even more options that you can add. There's a whole lot more. Like if you actually go through the GitHub projects and whatnot, you could read their API and see what else you can do. My goal here was really to give you a quick intro on things that you can do. But these are all good practices for your app so that you can have a really great looking app in production. You won't fight with your designers as much because now you know what the heck's different. Be able to tell if that visitor that's using your phone is saying things all jacked up. It would be your job to look at right before you push, right? It's your job to get rid of all of that extra CSS that the framework uses to the page. Now there's a whole lot more that you want to do as well. One thing that I really didn't touch on here was you want to minify your CSS as well. There's no reason to have a bunch of lines on your CSS. Now for because I left them all there, and we went from around 8,000 to around 300. That was pretty good, right? But we really want to get rid of all that extra white space that you don't need. There's a whole lot. In other words, there's just a whole lot more that you can do. Please do it. This is it. This is the end of my talk. If you guys want to follow me on the Twitters, on Caitlin, how do you say it again? It's the Twitter?
I say do the Twitter.
Okay, so if you want to do the Twitter with my name on it, I don't know what that means. Yeah, go for it. My demo is on this link right here now. I can post a link to the slides on the meetup page so you guys can get to this link right here and go through the GitHub, and basically you can navigate through the different branches and see the demos and whatnot. If you guys, any more questions, anything I can help you guys with? Yeah?
Have you used Gulp Deploy?
Gulp Deploy.
Have you used the plugin that actually deploys your build when you finish building it?
I've used something similar for Grunt. Okay, and at the time we were actually pushing it to an AWS S3 bucket. So we were using Grunt for that. Again, the purpose of Gulp and Grunt, for the rest, I have no idea what we're talking about, is to really automate things as much as possible. So in theory, you really could push all of your code to just using your local computer, just using a task runner. That's totally fine. That's actually what's there for. Did you have a follow-up question for that? Or
No, I was just asking.
Cool.
Why would you use one over the other?
So Gulp, that's a great question. Really have pretty much of the same purposes, Gulp and Grunt. Gulp. Did I say anything wrong? Whatever. So Grunt will give you, so the guys who make the plugins, they're basically giving you options that you can use, and you're just going through a big JSON looking thing, a big old object, and just configuring things. Gulp, on the other hand, is a little bit more functional. So with that, it gives you a little bit more control of what happens, right? You can call this function after that function and put a little bit in between and just do some tweaks that the plugin actually doesn't provide. So, but that's really the main difference. Again, the main purpose is the same, but in other words, Gulp's more hipsterish. It's the cool thing to do. If you want to be cool, that's what you'll be using. Yeah? Both will make you money. There's a bunch of plugins for both that will get you running super quick. And last time I spoke about Yeoman, for those of you that weren't here, it leverages Grunt and Gulp a lot. This project, I initially scaffolded it with the Yeoman project as well, and it gave me the default Gulp tasks, and I was just adding my own to it at the end. So you really want to be doing that. Let other people do most of the work for you. No need to reinvent the wheel. Yes?
Speaking of using something like Yeoman to develop apps, I've messed around with that once and it blew my project folder up so full of stuff that I had no idea what was going on in there. Can you run one of those things and just extract the Gulp file out of it, basically?
Generally, totally. So generally what I'll advise you do is, open a new directory that has nothing in it and scaffold your, and totally get the conventions that they're already using and move over to your project. Again, its job is to add all those files and make everything easy for you, but that does come at a price, right? It's adding a lot of opinions on top of things. Override some files, you might not want that at all. So definitely start fresh every time you're using Yeoman. And if you want to bring it over to your current project, that's fine. If that's going to be your new project, then that's totally fine too. But don't scaffold on top of an existing one for sure. Yeah?
Yeah, and to add to that, I did the same thing. I tried to add it to an existing project, it blew it up, and every project I've done from scratch with Yeoman.
Yeah. Oops. Anybody else?
Oh, just a quick question.
Yeah.
What Yo generator was that? Because I noticed it was using AWOL and stuff.
Yeah. This was. Actually, I have it written right here. It is the Gulp web app.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was good. I have it written down here somewhere. Here we go. This guy right here. Generator Gulp web app.
Cool.
Yeah? Any other questions? Yes?
These audit tools, do they have any bearing on how Google evaluates you to where you're going to be in their search engine placement?
They don't necessarily help you with SEO per se, but there's something to watch out for. Google actually cares for that. Yes, and responsiveness, especially, you want to make sure your app is accessible as possible. Now, that Chrome audit tool, it won't give you any of that, okay? It will make sure that your code's as slim as possible, that your server is actually serving things in the most optimal manner. And in theory, if your content is just as good as the next guy, but your site loads faster, they've been known for giving you some weight for that as well.
Are there any tools that you can apply to audit the website?
Yeah. A couple of them, I can't name them right now, I can't remember, but if you do a couple of Google searches, they will come up, and they're really good. I've ran stuff through them, and I've seen things that were key that really helped me. A couple of weeks after, I was up a few positions just by looking at those. Absolutely, but I cannot name them right now. Excuse me?
That's a great question. Give that man a t-shirt.
Good idea. Medium okay for you, sir?
Would rather have a large, but.
I have an extra large. Is that okay? JavaScript.com.
That's the yellow one.
That was my last yellow shirt. I'm so sorry, man. I apologize, Robbie. Okay, there's a backstory to this. You guys should know. So I gave that guy in brown back there a JavaScript.com T-shirt, and he said he wanted his office. Matter of fact, he wanted to be the only guy in Orlando to have one, but I told him Code School is based off of here. It's kind of hard to be the only guy in Orlando having it, but you're pretty special in my heart. But he told me to make sure that I wouldn't give his coworker one because he still wanted to be special. You'll get one eventually, man. Don't worry about it. But today, it was a promise. I'm sorry. I know. Well, I got one left. Maybe we could.
We can do it with a wrap.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And again, guys, free Code School. Grab one. Yeah.
Any other questions, guys?
Yeah. Anything?
Yes?
Well, thank you. You're welcome.